Tip FM's Tip Today.
With Slattery's Garage, Puck On. Over half a century driving the people of Tipperary and surrounding areas with quality, reliable and economical vehicles, new and used. Call the sales team today to discuss your next car or van on 067 24 111.
Thanks, Pat, and welcome back to the second hour of Tip Today. Now, we did a piece there, we played out a piece from my tattoo experience just before Christmas. Tom Carew was on, though, and he says, "Good morning, friend. I absolutely hate tattoos, especially when they're clearly visible at first glance. In some cases, people even deface their faces, pardon the pun. Why would somebody want to do that?" Well, I don't know, Tom, but there you go. That could be me next year. Be careful. Frank was on to say, "Fran, were you tempted to give up the chocolate for January as well as the wine, or like me, did you think that was a step too far? Happy New Year." You see, I shouldn't be having the chocolate either, Frank, but between you and me and the wall, I'll stick with the wine for the moment anyway. All right then, it is time to talk all about money.
Financial advice with FOH Financial Limited. Tried, trusted and experienced advice. See FOH.ie. FOH Financial Limited is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
And Francis O'Hanlon is with me in studio. Good morning to you and Happy New Year to you, Francis.
Yeah, hi Fran. Happy New Year to you and to all your listeners.
Good to see
as well.
You. We want to sort of tease it out and see that people follow your advice around Christmas time in terms of, I suppose, the spend and all of that.
Yeah, and I suppose, look, the reality is, and I say this every year, 50 weeks to go to Christmas 2026. Woohoo!
Ow. Yeah.
But that's the reality of it.
Yeah.
And we say that, Christmas comes every year. It's no big surprise. So, look, you need to be thinking about Christmas next year. This, December of 26, as we stand here in January of 26, and how you're going to deal with that and how you're going to fund it. And I would say save, ideally. Of course, that doesn't always ring true. Some people can only save a certain amount and some people might end up borrowing as well. So, look, ideally don't borrow for Christmas. Think about the interest that you're going to be charged. So if you can save a little bit more and avoid and kind of wean yourself off the borrowing need annually, that in itself is a huge feat. But look, I'm mindful of what people are earning. I'm mindful of people's net salaries. I'm mindful of the drag on people, pension contributions now coming into play for some people.
Yeah.
But I suppose the biggest thing here is, think about the debt of Christmas past, I suppose, again. People dragging debt forward like a bag of rocks from Christmas to Christmas. And it's also, we always say this, it could be holiday to holiday. So ideally deal with, the ghost of Christmas debt past. If it's a thing, especially, you need to be mindful of how you borrowed, if you did borrow. And indeed how you borrow going forward. So I would say to people, if it is a thing that you have it on a credit card and you're not going to be clearing that credit card within, a reasonable time frame, let's ideally 30 days. Look, then you're clearing, you've no interest to face potentially, but let's be real here. I would say as long as you're getting rid of it in 3 months, if you're getting into any deeper than that, credit cards are very expensive. Okay, and they're inexpensive, normally in around the 18%. So you need to be mindful of any balances. So you need to box clever here. And if it is a thing that you have a credit card and there's a balance on it, what you could do is, if you think, well, look, I could get rid of this in 6 or 9 months, maybe look at switching your credit card. Some of the providers that are out there are offering 0% interest maybe for 3 or 6 or even 9 months if you switch to them. So that would be a way, if you're disciplined enough to say, okay, I have this excess on my credit card, I want to get rid of it. I'm not going to do it within the 30 days. I'm going to switch it over to another provider and I have the discipline to get rid of that in 3 or 6 months. Then that's possibly something you can look at. Just be careful. Look at what interest rate you're going to be charged after the switching period is over,
Okay.
because sometimes you can be going from frying pan to
yeah.
into the fire.
Yeah. So unless you really believe you can clear that within the time frame,
what's the point?
what's the point?
Yeah, what's the point of switching from a 16% provider, and you don't get rid of it in the avail of the 0% period, and then you're getting into possibly an 18.5%, because we all know there's no such thing as a free lunch.
Well, that's
when it
for
comes.
sure. But just for clarity, Francis, if I owe €1,500 on my credit card and I decide I'm going to switch to try and benefit from what you've just described, I'll owe them €1,500 then. I'm not going to take any of the extra with me on top of that, am I?
You are. Say you owe €1,753 inclusive of interest. You clear out that balance completely and you switch it to the new provider. Okay, that includes the interest. So you'll have no credit card with your old provider. Your new balance will be at 0% with the new provider. 0% for the 3, 6 or 9 months. After that, you're back to whatever balance, whatever interest rate they charge. So say you avail of the switch and say your 1,753 balance, say you have the means to get rid of that in the 6 months, that means you paid no interest on that €1,753 because you availed of that introductory 0%.
Okay.
But if you ended up saying, sure, look, and you ended up owing still about €1,400 of the 1,753, and then after the 3, 6 or 12 or 9 months period has expired, all of a sudden you're into 18.5%. You need to be mindful. I think if it's a thing that some people are better off with a term loan where they have a fixed repayment, and that might be even for their Christmas to Christmas situation, but make sure you get rid of it in 11 months. And I would say the same if you're dragging a credit card balance, it might be that you're better off without a credit card. Okay, so it
Completely.
might be better. You might be better off. Credit cards don't suit everybody.
Yeah, I know.
They just can't manage them. So sometimes you're better off.
It's very hard to survive in this world without.
Yeah, I suppose again with online payments, it depends what you want, and again, it's the discipline of knowing and acknowledging where you're at. That's why I like people to look back sometimes and be honest with yourself. Be honest with what you spent at Christmas. Be honest with what you owe. Be honest with the interest that you're paying, and be honest with your ability to clear it. Because sometimes people say, "Oh, I'm going to give this up. I'm going to give that up. I'm going to clear this in whatever," and the reality is that they don't. So just try and be honest with yourself and be real about what you can do.
Of course,
but I think it's important to look back. Again, there's ways of borrowing. We mentioned the buy now, pay later. Some of those are fantastic if you have the discipline of getting rid of them in the 3 installments. But if you don't, then you're facing into potentially very high interest after that period of time. And please be mindful of your credit rating. How many times have we said
it's so important, isn't it?
Sometimes people think because it's small, it doesn't matter. Money matters. Your credit rating matters. And I would advise everyone to just once a year.
I was looking at a program the other night about a guy trying to get his relationship broke up, and eventually then he had plenty of savings. He was trying to get a mortgage. He should have had no problem getting the mortgage, except that his credit rating was damaged over a €12 incident that he didn't know anything about.
Yeah, it seems harsh, but you see, unfortunately, when you're looking at a situation and you're looking at the bank or a lender is looking at your credit rating and they see that it's impaired or damaged,
yes,
sometimes they don't always get into why, okay? But possibly when it was pointed out to this individual and they said, sorry, I didn't realise that and I never closed off the car. Sometimes the banks can be reasonable.
Yeah,
where you
and that's
can
what
make
emerged
a case.
from the conversation.
Yeah.
But it was only he found out about it, that this was an impediment to him getting. He fixed them up, the €12 gone. But then 5 years started.
Yeah.
The period of time in which...
absolutely. I only saw a case lately, somebody that was looking at buying their first house, engaged, love young dream, wanted to, they're saving hard together. And I just said to him, do me a favour, will you just do a credit check? And when I saw his credit check, he had a car loan of old that he still hadn't sorted. He thought he had it sorted, but there was a residual balance. It was kind of hangover interest, and it's not gone. So I said, you need to clear that and it's 5 years from that ticking point, from that point. Like, that's a difficult conversation to be having with a partner, to say, listen, that house we were talking about could be a little delayed.
Yeah.
Now, look, seek advice again in relation to that. Again, that's why you're better off going to, I suppose, an impartial advisor that has access to the varies, that knows what they're doing. They can look at it and try and help you manoeuvre around those situations.
Because the advisor that this guy I was telling you about was speaking to said that, some banks might look upon it a little more benignly in some way.
Exactly.
So there you go. Tax then? What about tax back?
Oh, look, I was only reading an article, 600 million or something left unclaimed, or some mad figure. So there's thousands of people that either are paying too much tax or that they've lots of tax to claim back. So again, we're saying every year to people, please be mindful. This is it. This is some people call it the miserable week but think of it in another way. Think of it, oh my God, I'm going to get that box of receipts that I've been saving all year and that I've been setting aside, and I'm now going to go and I'm going to claim back that tax that I'm entitled to on those medical receipts and prescriptions and prescribed physio.
Are self-employed people better at this than PAYE? Because we believe that we have nothing to get back.
Yeah, possibly. Look, it's a mindset for some self-employed people, and I might add, but because they're the ones skidding in the door at the end of October usually to accountants. But look, obviously they're more aligned. So, their accountant or tax advisor is probably saying, listen, you need to do this, this and this.
Yeah.
But PAYE people need to do this, this and this. This is money that you can claim back, that you could possibly reduce that credit card balance, or you can go towards the Christmas of 26, or it can go towards your holiday.
Yeah,
or you might even
paying
decide
off your credit card.
There you go. Absolutely. So it's just amazing the amount of people, like even the college people that have children in college and they're paying rent and they're entitled to claim back for that. So there's so many things left there that people don't claim for. This is substantial money. This is your money. This is your money as a taxpayer, potentially.
And if you take medical expenses, for example, Francis, and if you've already claimed from your medical insurer, your VHI or whatever, you can also claim, can't you? Yeah.
So it's the residual balance. So say you submit your claim to your health provider and they've said, listen, you had €1,000 in receipts, we're awarding you 400. Therefore, there's a residual balance of 600. So as long as they're legitimate receipts, you can then go to revenue and say, listen, we've been to healthcare provider. They dropped a name there. Healthcare provider.
Yes.
We've been given back €400. There's a residual balance of €600. Can we claim the tax on the difference? And you'll get a tax break at 20% on the residual balance. So again, money people leave behind. I don't know how many times I've said that to people and they're going, really? Yeah, really, you can claim your money back.
Budgeting. Let's talk about budgeting.
Okay, so again,
none of us like to talk about it. But,
no, but it might sound old-fashioned, but it's not. It's the core of everything. You have to budget. It doesn't matter, be it an individual, be it a business. You need to budget, and again, it's very hard in this kind of tap culture. Now it's not even, you don't even have to go to the bother of having the card. It's on your phone. Yeah. So it's hard to sometimes keep track. So, what I would say is it's a great time for people to say, what are you spending? Look at what you're spending. Look at how you're spending. And, do you need it? We're all kind of getting to the point now, even, groceries at Christmas saying, do we need this? Are we going to end up chucking this out? Into the bin in between Christmas and New Year's. That goes for everything. What are you spending? How are you spending? Do you need? Could you change it? Could you save yourself some money in that way? So we're going to get on to cash stuffing.
Now, we've attempted to do this for the last 6 months, I think, in some sort of a way. Will you tell us about cash stuffing and what it is? It's a very old-fashioned sort of way. Yeah,
we've always spoken about pockets.
Yes.
Some people might have jars in the press, biscuit tins, whatever it is. This is all the rage on TikTok or whatever, of people where they physically take out cash. Now, I'm not jumping around about this, but let's go with the flow, because we've threatened to speak about it so long. So basically people say, okay, I have envelopes set aside, groceries, rent, mortgage, socialising, clothes, and they take out money and they apply a portion of their money, their cash, into each of the envelopes. They only spend what's in the envelope, and that's it. So if it is the thing that they see a pair of boots in the sale and they have €100 in their clothing envelope, but the boots are 105, sorry, you don't get the boots, right?
Oh, that's so unfair.
So, this is the idea of it, that you're putting money aside. Now, look, I get that sometimes that might work well for people, especially if they're trying to be very, very strict about what they're doing and how they're managing their money. Other people are listening saying, well, I do this already. So it's just, one of those things that's all the rage at the moment. It is all the rage. I'm not jumping around about people having wads of cash because, let's talk about any reasonable budget in a household. They're going to have a lot of cash potentially hanging around a house, which I'm not jumping around about. You have to be very disciplined and say, right, well, I'm not, what if you do? Sometimes stuff happens and you need more. The idea is that you're not supposed to touch the other envelopes. There are facilities, certain banks or whatever it be allow you to have wallets, without naming them, where you can set aside money for these various things. Or indeed, go back to what we always say, do up your budget plan, set up your bills account and maybe deal with it that way. But hey, look, we've mentioned the cash stuffing, Fran.
We finally got around to it. Indeed. But do up the budget plan then.
Yeah, do up your budget plan. Sit down. It's the time of year to do it. Sit down, have a look at what your spend is, your bills, your utilities, and maybe have a look and see where you could save money. I would say, there's great resources out there, but have a look, in particular health insurance. I've heard that a lot in the last while, that it has gone up substantially. And I think an awful lot of people are due big bills, increases in their bills in January in particular. There are providers out there. There's one in particular, it's where they literally will look at the healthcare plan that you've got and see, can you do better? Yeah. Now, from what I understand, you can actually go to your healthcare provider. They're obliged to go through the various plans that they have and to see, can you do better? But if it's a thing that you want an impartial eye on it, you can go to... It's
Dermot Goods.
Exactly, yeah. And you know what? You have to pay a fee.
Yeah.
It could be the best fee you ever pay, because an awful lot of people have the wrong plan and they're overpaying. So you could get far greater value, because I think majority of people agree you need to have health insurance.
Of course, but most people are afraid to change, particularly if they have underlying conditions.
Yeah, absolutely.
But there's no need for that.
No,
fear,
there's not. No, and again, I'm not an expert in health insurance, but I would say definitely worth looking at. And that, in my opinion, is a very big ticket item. Obviously there's the mortgages and looking at the rate that you're on and can you pull back the term. So, I suppose if we're looking at the core fundamental here, it's about the budget. It's about knowing that you have a certain amount of money coming in, knowing that you have a certain amount of money that you have to pay out, that you know of. There's always going to be glitches, but it's to put a process in place that you can deal with the bills as they come, right?
Yes.
That well, I have X amount in bills, I'm setting aside Y on a weekly or a monthly basis, and I'll be able to deal with those bills then as they come. You'll have to vary it over time. And again, feeding back into Christmas and Christmas past and Christmas on the way and whatever it be, whatever bills that come up. If you have the right budget plan in place, it should look after all of those things. You should never have to worry about Christmas, because you'll have the money set aside that you can pay for Christmas out of that money.
You have a great piece of advice in your notes, which is, can you account for what's coming out of your account? Now, I discovered this recently because I pay for access to a lot of publications online. The amount of money it adds up to per month is scary.
Yeah, absolutely. And, certain, shall we say, providers for channels or whatever it be, people are like, there's substantial money coming out, and people really need to look at, do we need all of that? Is there a better deal out there? So, for every people say, sure, it's only a tenner. For every tenner that you save, right, that could be redirected. And if, for example, you looked across all of the various and all of a sudden you're saving yourself €50 a month by just tweaking what you've got and you're putting that money aside, that's a substantial amount towards your Christmas for 26.
Before I let you go, Francis, if somebody finds themselves in difficulty, just what should
and
they
that
do?
happens.
Yeah,
and
of course,
it happens, and there's no shame in it. And sometimes people hit bumps in the road and they're in difficulty and they need help. So what I would say is, again, face it. I know that's hard sometimes for people that are in debt. Face it, don't ignore it. And there's help out there, like MABS is a great facility. There's the insolvency service if you feel you need a little more help. But I think MABS is your first call. Of course, there's the likes of me, who's a financial advisor, but you need a financial advisor that's specifically qualified in the area of debt management. But I would say MABS is a great place to go. Again, it's about budgeting. They'll help you maybe with budgeting if they need to intervene with certain bills to get you some kind of plan in place. That's what you need to do. But please don't ignore it, because it'll just get worse. And you're better off. The sooner, sometimes it's the fear of it is worse. And I've seen that with people. I've seen the anxiety that people feel over debt, and I've seen it just dissolve when they know that there's, all right, hold on. Sure, look, this is what we'll do.
There's light at the end of the tunnel.
Because I think sometimes people get so bogged down and their head gets so clouded from it, and that's the only way I can describe it.
If people want to talk to you or the team, Francis,
no problem. They can ring the office 052 612 9487 or visit our website www.foh.ie.
All right, great to see you as always,
Thank you,
Francis.
Fran.
Thanks very much indeed. Francis O'Hanlon there of FOH Finance in Clonmel. We'll take a break. We're back with global news.
Tip FM's Tip Today.
With Slattery's Garage, puck on. It's time to change. Test drive the award-winning range of Peugeot hybrids and fully electric vehicles at Slattery's Garage today. See slatterysgarage.ie.